representing one of the organizers, but in this very panel, I'm in fact the moderator and an extremely proud person that we managed to bring an initiative that we will inform you about to here. That is what fills me with a real pride, because I think that the topic of women of the Balkans for new politics is one of the most challenging topics that we managed collectively to invent for quite a while. I do feel in the same time that this session is a natural continuation of what we had last year at the BSF, the Follow Us initiative, the initiative of women from Belgrade and Pristina, Serbia and Kosovo. It happened in a very special moment, and we were all very proud. When I say all, both the women and our supporters, the OSCE mission in Serbia, very proud that we managed to have that session, although there was a decision in Kosovo at that moment that officials from Kosovo, and in fact anybody, shouldn't come to Belgrade security for not because of the forum, but because of some other circumstances. And then a group of women who participated in Follow Us decided not to follow any instruction, but to follow what they believe is right to do, and this was to continue the cooperation they started a few years before that in the Belgrade-Pristina, later on renamed Follow Us Initiative. I think this was a kind of breakthrough in women and regional politics. Probably we wouldn't name it like that at that moment, although we all were very, very glad that it happened. It was an excellent session. But I think it, as a number of other things that happen in the moment when they happen, we are not really aware always that they are part of, or are becoming part of a more important, bigger process than the actors themselves are aware of. I don't think there would be this other initiative without that very moment. This initiative, again, was born out of necessity to understand a specific role women could and should play in our region in order to overcome the problems different layers of past have left as a legacy, and to try really to take a new path. It's never easy to take a new path anywhere, especially not in politics, but we decided this is time for that new path. And there was a small brainstorming meeting, small, medium-sized brainstorming meeting in Budva, September 4th and 5th, supported by the OSCE mission in Serbia and Odir from Warsaw. And we came together and came to the conclusion that this is the time to launch this new initiative. We officially call it Women Initiative for New Politics, even avoiding the Balkans for the reason which is quite, I think, technical. We had also women from Slovenia and Croatia with us, and we simply did not want anybody to feel in any way limited, even with the title. As you see, we, on one hand, are agreeing to take a new path. On the other hand, we are very well aware that we have to be realistic and to deal with the circumstances, the limits that we are living in. And this is where I think we might find a new way. The idea of the initiative is very simple, that we bring together women from all walks of life, politics, civil society, business, professional organizations, that we organize a kind of a loose network that would in no way want to duplicate anything that exists, that would like to be as inclusive as possible and simply honor all those initiatives that already exist, but help them to kind of be better linked together, achieve more synergy, and in a way really try to build together a movement. A movement that would give new energy and new ideas to our entire region. I think the understanding that we need new actors is fully present. It is present also in the Berlin process that we just had a panel about, and it was definitely agreed by everybody that it should be youth. Well, we have an addition. Yes, youth and women. And in fact, what we will try here, I hope, to part of launching this new initiative with all of you, whom we all understand as members of the initiative, we would like to also find a topic that can be common for all of us, but that we would pursue in each and every society we are living in the way we think is the best to be pursued. And we are suggesting, now I'm getting very, very concrete, when I say we, it is basically our very dear friend and a great contributor to this project, Sonja Lokar, who is sorry for not being here, but she's at another place giving lectures at the Dialogue Academy to young women, so she's in Stadtschleining. We were discussing what to do, what would be that common theme that we could pursue, and we came to the proposal that it could be about young women and their employability, or the other way around, how to make sure that we decrease the unemployment of young women, help them to be more engaged for the sake of employment, but also for the sake of engagement. So this is our common suggestion, now given to all of you, and especially I ask our panelists to take it very seriously into account, but of course you have all the other questions that we planned to discuss and you can choose. Alenka is the first, and I know that Alenka wants to address, in fact, very much exactly this topic of young women and politics, right?
Thank you very much, Sonia. I will stress and talk about a few points I prepared, but first of all, I would like to thank Sonia for invitation, and I would like to say that I'm very glad to be here today in Belgrade. Drago mi je da sam danas tu sa vama, stvarno mi je drago. We will discuss about women and our activities for new politics. Actually, we will talk about situation in the world and how women can make some changes. We cannot be satisfied with things are going on. Many of us, women in politics and other part of society, asking ourselves, what can we do for better world? Do we do enough to put important problems and issues into the table? Whether we should or could do more. All these questions were ahead of us in Budva, where our meeting took place a month ago. In my eyes, we are living in a crucial time. My generation and generation of my parents and generation of my children we all are living in peace, all our lives. And for us, this is something normal, but it's not. We all should be aware that Slovenia is part of Europe since ever. We have been member of European Union since 2004, and I can tell you that we have many problems inside EU, and we have many things we cannot find common solution. But I'm sure that the biggest and the most important project of our common Europe is peace. European Union is project of peace. I was sad and I watched Spanish police force violent over their own people because of democratic decision making, and something like that don't have take place in the middle of Europe. And that's what I'm telling you about. Peace is not self-evident. People from Balkan countries, especially people from former Yugoslavia, know that better than others in Europe. And peace in this part of our world is very, very weak. In my eyes, peace is the most important thing for each of us, but it's not the only problem we are facing with. In Budva, we discussed many things, and we agreed that the achieved level of human rights is untouchable. We support dialogue on truly important issues such as rule of law, necessities and livelihoods of citizens instead on borders and ideologies. We reject the use of discriminatory language and discriminatory activities in the public sphere and in all areas of life. We support universal access to education, health, housing and social security, and equal opportunities for economic equality and prosperity. We are convinced that we must focus on protecting the common good and the environment. And last point, we need to include men in the dialogue on gender equality and gender mainstreaming. Can you imagine? Women agreed that we should involve men into the dialogue about gender equality. The world is divided into women and men. No one is more important than other. So, can we say that we are equal? And are we? I can tell you that politics is still a men's world. Why? Perhaps because there is a lot of power in politics. Maybe because we, women, do not want to join politics. I don't know. But I know one thing. Only we, women, will break this stereotype with our engagement. It's not easy, I can tell you that. I was Prime Minister in Slovenia in the most difficult times for my country. We didn't know if the state will bankrupt. We didn't know month after month if we could pay pensions, salaries, and all other things. And can you imagine that the media and public in such difficult times for my country were dealing with my clothes, my shoes, my length of skirt? And that was just because I'm woman. Evidently, women are under more public scrutiny compared to our male colleagues, which I believe may be the reason less women undergo a career in politics. However, I'm sure that women can bring a new light to a situation and offer an alternative solution to a problem. Our ability to compromise and not give up, even in the most difficult situation, is a vital quality to possess. We can provide a different perspective, a female perspective to the world. That is fact and our grandest attribute. In Slovenia, we have a saying, 3 corners of a house are supported by a woman, and this is certainly true. And not so long ago, women fought for the rights to vote. Coco Chanel fought for us, for women, to wear trousers. For us, today, all this is totally normal. I'm certain that in the near future, women in leadership roles will be a normal occurrence. And I would like to tell that I will do my best to activate women in my country to engage in a serious debate and joint national and regional actions on the new priorities of our movement, as well as to create networks of regional support and make better use of potential international support to these priorities. We have a big homework ahead of us, but I'm sure that we will be good in this. And at the end, I would like to say, don't forget, future is female.
Thank you, Alenka. From the first moment of our initiative, we were very, very happy and proud that you are with us, because your experience, as you just described, will mean a lot of, so to say, inspiration, and will be also something that will help us to, in fact, deepen the understanding of the issues and problems women are facing when they are in a real decision-making power. Edith Hadji is someone who knows a lot about decision-making. She was a part of being her latest function was Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. I remember those years very well. Edith knows, as I said, a lot about those challenges, but also the challenges of being a very active political woman in a society which is not very much used to it. So, please, would you continue where Alenka stopped, more or less?
Thank you very much, Sonia, and I wanted to hug you when you came because we didn't meet earlier, and thank you personally for this very kind invitation. To say the truth, just a few words about the Belgrade Security Forum. I was talking to friends last night regarding this forum and asking what it is about, and I think you have taken the token of comparing very closely to the Munich Security Forum, without the big shots, but it is more interesting like this. And I congratulate you on this great initiative, which has turned to be very important, not just for the think tank and the organization that you lead and Serbia itself, but for the entire region. And I hear that scholars from all over the region, they look forward to that forum. Secondly, I would like to thank you for bringing up our new initiative to this forum as well. I think it is very timely, it is important because it needs recognition at this moment. Sonia and I have discussed the issue of probably a new initiative, or not a new initiative, an initiative regarding women in politics, or in new politics, or new politics for women, for a long time. Coming from the point of view of, first, what is the situation of democracy in the region? And secondly, what do women do? Either they are by default, not by default, either they are indirectly nominated or prime ministers or ministers or deputy ministers, not because of the will of the politicians in general who are dominantly male, or otherwise they have to fight their way through civil society means. But of course, deficiencies in democracy and democratic values in the region have brought by certain problems also regarding civil society. It's not the civil society that it was 20 years ago, especially immediately after the break of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. There was a great initiative to see civil society completely in a different light. And it was a model for us in the Balkans. The model was the European model of civil society. I think that one has eroded, and with that one afterwards, the erosion has gone on even into in the Balkans as well. Now, why do we talk about an initiative as such, and why it is important to have an initiative as such right now. I think there are a couple of elements. I would call it also actually a sort of anti-establishment movement, even this one, to come up with an idea of an initiative that will fight certain prejudices of what women can do and how can they lead the global demands of today's world, and especially in the Balkans. 25 years after the last ethnic conflict in this region, actually 17 years after the last ethnic conflict, and then 25 years after the fall of communism, there is a certain relative peace, and we talk about security and stability quite often. It is as such. I mean, I see that we don't have anymore the problems of acceptance as we used to have even 10 years ago. And I don't credit this actually to our politicians. I credit this to the people, that they have taken it at heart. It's something very natural that comes to all of us. Even when I came for the first time in Belgrade many years ago, I didn't feel estranged because I was an Albanian walking in the streets of Belgrade. On contrary, you know, I compare the Serbs so much to Albanians, and we're the same lot at the end of the day. I mean, being part of the Balkans, it's being part of the same group, you know, the same, you know, the same thing that has really made us so traditionalist in our values as well. And I find a piece of home here all the time. And I'm sure Sonia does the same, or everybody who comes to Tirana or goes to Pristina or goes to Skopje or goes to Ljubljana or Sarajevo and Podgorica feels the same. But what we have seen so far with this heartwarming initiative, that it's rooted from the people, from the grassroots of society, and as well as civil society has had a very big element of work in all of this. We see that at the same time there is an erosion of democratic values. Why? Because the international community, first of all, has paid too much attention to the issues of stability, security, this pacification of ethnic feuds in the region, by forgetting that there are important elements, the democratic norms that we should have kept alive. So at this moment we are at a point in time when we have democratically elected leaders in the region, all of them male. Thanks God there is a prime minister woman in Serbia today. All of them male. Who dominate not just the political life in their own countries, but they try to dominate the political life in other countries in the region as well. And sometimes this gets disturbing. Why? Because at the end of the day, we come to the point that we women say, do we have any say in these societies? Is this a society, does it differ, the society, from Serbia to Albania to Montenegro or elsewhere? So I think it is by the time that we also have a say in all of this. We do not just leave those male role models take the decisions, gather in a room and discuss about a common market without even asking the most important and the most vital part of the society, not just the people, but that 50+1, which is definitely the female, the women part, that are so important. And unlike Alenka, actually, I would say it's not the future. It is the past and it is the present. So this new initiative could differ from the previous initiatives in the region, which have been many so far. I think that we will try to coordinate, also to incorporate some of the other initiatives or ideas from other initiatives that probably did not succeed as much, or they had a time limit, time frame up to what they could do, and come up with an approach. Back in Budva some weeks ago, in our brainstorming session, we came up with different ideas from all the countries in the region. And it was really interesting to hear that the issues are the same everywhere. I don't think it is just because we're women. I think it is because we live the same problems. What somebody lives in Niš, somebody lives in Durrës, somebody lives in Jakova, somebody lives the same problems, you know, in Ohrid, or, you know, somewhere else in Croatia or Slovenia or Montenegro. So it is the same issues of lack of, or I would say deforming democracies that binds us together at this moment. It's not just being women. But I think the initiative, it is important because we generate power. I do apologize to men that are here, probably sometimes even at a higher level than men. And I do believe in the device that women cannot get corrupted, and corruption, or easily corrupted, and corruption remains our biggest problem throughout the region, is a pattern that is everywhere. And I think that we can try to fight it. Just try it with us once. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know whether women can't be corrupted, or there is a problem that they didn't want to corrupt us because we didn't have the power necessary for, as you heard, she was and she's not anymore for different reasons. Anyway.
Because we know our limits, where we stop normally.
I remember very well one discussion a few years ago, which was for me one of the benchmarks in the Serbian parliament, the first annual session of the Women Parliamentary Network, when one woman from a city in the south of Serbia said, they cannot attack us of being corrupted. We are not corrupted because we don't have power, and then they are trying to destroy our moral self. And this is such a statement, which I think we should also address very, very seriously. And I'm not mentioning this by chance. I'm asking Sanda to continue now, where I just force myself to stop.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really glad that I'm here with you today, and I would like to thank the organizers for organizing this forum. It is of the utmost importance, as my predecessors, especially Edith, she told that we are here with more or less the same or very similar mentalities, and at least we are dividing the same space of Balkans, and we were living with Albania in the same country for decades. That's why it is very important to have a coordination and to have cooperation. And this meeting in Budva was really wonderful. And this initiative of Women for the New Politics is very important as well. But I would like to tackle a few issues, although it looks it's all milk and honey and it's all easy, and I'd love to be a little bit a party breaker. So let's see what happens right now in Serbia. What is the situation with women in Serbia? Serbia formally made some great steps forward. There's the action plan on women. There are strategies. There are protocols. 30% of women parliamentarians are women. We have also women's network in the parliament. We have a law against family violence. We have gender budgeting. We have president of the parliament, which is a lady, and the prime minister, which is also a lady. And these are really big steps forward. But the thing is that women in our society, even women which are engaged in politics, don't feel that as a special and a major and important backup. and a big substantial change. It is not. Why is that so? Because there's no implementation. There is no atmosphere in the society that would enhance women in the substantial way to engage politics, to engage any kind of decision-making processes. Because for example, in Serbia, there is 16% of women which are less employed than the men. For example, self-employment of women is 14%, and self-employment of men is 30%. Women are only in 17% the owners of some let's say the economic not only economic power but salash, how to say, farms, yes. They are only in 17%, and most of these owners of the farms are widows. When the husband was alive, it was impossible for women to divide that power with her husband. So women are most employed in the sectors of care, like social affairs, like education, like teachers, and when it comes to the index of gender equality, there are no women where there's a substantial decision making and money flows. So why is that so? Why I am not satisfied, and most of the women in Serbia is not satisfied, although we have all that we have, a prime minister lady and a president of the parliament. Because women are not elected to these positions. They are selected, and the selection makes a man. And a man selects women who will be obedient and who will not have a final say when it comes to that situation. I will give you an example. A week ago, there was a meeting of prime ministers from the region of Bulgaria, Serbia, then Romania and Greece. And there were 3 prime ministers, but there was a president of Serbia present. So if you ask me, it would be normal that Prime Minister of Serbia should attend the meeting with the other prime ministers, but she was not there. And I was offended as a woman, as a politician, because she was not present at that meeting. So what we have to do is election, not a selection, because this is the only way how to motivate women to really engage in politics, really engage in decision making, and that decision making is going to be a substantial and I would say the right one. We as women engaged in politics in the Balkan region should not stick only to the politics, because we will not be interesting for women which are in the other walks of life. Because if we have, for example, a lot of women that are living beyond the level of poverty, if we have in business sector, only 25% of women and all the others are men. We, without tackling these issues and without linking ourselves with the needs of women all around the country and the region, we will not get to the point. That's why somebody, I think that a colleague from Croatia mentioned that in Budva when we were discussing that this appeal for the new politics would be also making women's a network against women's poverty, a network in women entrepreneur and invigorating women to take their destiny, their businesses into their own hands. So it's good to have gender-sensitive budgets, but without the budgets that are working on development and economy, we will not get to the point. So, which would be the initiatives and the proposals? Whom could we map as our allies? As Alenka said, that would be men, because we are living in the same society. We don't want to now tell them, well, okay, for a few thousand years you were exercising the patriarchal society, and now leave us the millennia, and we will introduce matriarchate. So that's not the point. We want equality. We want to be partners, not to be rulers, not to be oppressors, but we want to be partners, and that's why we need men. Also, besides political figures and the laws and everything that is needed to be adopted and implemented, and I'm underlying this implementation of the laws, which is, I can't say non-existence, but very feeble in implementation. We have to rely on civil society, because our rights and our struggle is not the done deal. It's not that we achieve this level and we can sit back and relax and think about the new level, because all the time there's someone who is trying to take it away from us. And so this is very important to work with young women, because young women in Serbian society, but in the other societies in all the countries of the Balkan region, are oriented to their career, to motherhood. They have a lot of problems with that. They cannot have a child if they work, and they will lose a job, and it's on the paper that they will not, but they usually do. So they are struggling for the everyday life, and without involving young women into politics, young women into the battle for women's rights, young women into entrepreneurship, we will not get to the point. And this is not linked only to Serbia. This should be the thing that is Balkan-wide, that will, like a red thread of Ariadne, would go through all the Balkan region, through all the Europe, and even wider. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandra, very much. I'm very glad that among others in our audience, we have Sanja Nikolin representing the Women Platform for Development of Serbia until 2020. One of those new initiatives, I would say, that in fact encompass exactly what you were talking about, and I'm sure that they will be one of our basic partners, at least in this country, and trying to really promote what they achieved. I will just mention, together with the Coordination Committee for Gender Equality, on Monday they are organizing a meeting on women in rural areas. One of those topics that you are right, you are all right, that we were kind of leaving behind in the previous session on inequality. It was very clearly underlined. I think it was a great session on inequality, but also on major issues that are influencing our actual moment, but also the entire thing about uncertainty. It was said very, very clearly that the elites failed, in fact, to communicate with the people. The elites had a feeling that their bubble is enough, and it turned out that it isn't. And we don't know how things will develop if they continue like that. So, obviously, this is, I understand our initiative also as a challenge to that kind of understanding, but also behavior, as at least in our region. And maybe we will be an inspiration for even a broader thing. Nada Drobnjak has a huge experience in organizing within and outside of the administrative limits. Nada, please.
Hvala Sonja, dobar dan svima. Ja se na startu moram zahvaliti Sonji što je omogućila da se danas toliko puta čuje o Crnoj Gori, jer svaka panelistkinja je pomenula Budvu i ja sam beskrajno srećna što je čitav proces krenuo u Budvi i što će Budva obilježiti uspjehe koje će ovaj proces proizvesti. Negdje fokus moje priče planirana je pomjerila Alenkina diskusija i hvala joj na tome. Ona je rekla poslovicu koja važi u Sloveniji, ali i u svim našim državama, to je da 3 ćoška kuće leže na ženi. Svi znamo da bi konstrukcija bila stabilna... Izvinjavam se.
Thank you, Sonja. Good afternoon, everyone. I would especially like to thank Sonja for having the panelists here who have all of them mentioned Montenegro and Budva in particular, and I'm really proud that the whole process has been initiated and started in Budva, and I hope that we will soon see the results thereof as well. But now, like Alenka said about this Slovenian saying, which I think applies to all our countries, namely that the 3 corners of a house rest on a woman.
Da bi konstrukcija bila stabilna, ona mora da ima 3 oslonca. Znači, naši mudri preci su znali da bi porodica i dom bili stabilni, moraju je osloniti tamo gdje se može i primiti opterećenje iz nje.
Well, in order for the construction to be stable, it has to rest on 3 pillars. That's what our ancestors knew as well. So in order to make a house stable, it has to rest on something that is strong enough to carry it.
I pošto mi, žene, muškarce, smatramo ravnopravnim sa nama, mi smo potpuno spremne da im damo ovaj jedan ćošak pa da nosimo po 2.
So, since we women actually deem the men to be equal to us, we are ready to hand them over one of these corners so that it would be, the house would rest on 2 corners on women and 2 corners on men.
Jer suština cijele priče, i ja se izvinjavam prevoditeljki, negdje leži u rečenici koja se također u Crnoj Gori ponavlja, a to je da je crnogorska žena uvijek sposobna da nagovori muža, da joj naredi da uradi ono što ona želi.
Well, and also I have to say that there is the bottom line of this entire story also maybe summarized in one of the Montenegrins' sayings, which reads as following: "The Montenegrin woman has always been capable of talking her men into ordering her as to what to do."
I uvijek nas takvim konstatacijama stavljaju negdje na marginu. Kao mi smo snažne, jake, sve mi završavamo, ali nikad niko ne može da porekne da je stvarna moć bila i još uvijek je nažalost kod muškaraca.
And of course, with these statements and sayings, they are actually putting us on a margin. They say, okay, you are strong enough, you can deal with so many things, but the actual power, we all know, still rests in the hands of men.
U regionu i u Crnoj Gori također posljednjih 20-25 godina je jak ženski pokret koji je dao neke rezultate.
In the region as well as in Montenegro, this women's movement has been very strong for 25 years now, and it has also yielded some very important results.
Ali upravo nezadovoljni tim rezultatima mi smo i krenuli ovu novu priču žena na Zapadnom Balkanu.
But we are actually not quite satisfied with the results achieved, and that's why we have initiated this new story, so to say, women in the Western Balkans.
Sanda je govorila o tome da mi imamo zakone. Svaka država može da se pohvali relativno dobrim zakonodavnim okvirom.
Well, Sanda also said that we all have laws, and all our countries can be proud of their very good laws.
Ali kakva je praksa?
But what about the practice?
Da li i jedna naša država može da se pohvali da ima makar 40% žena u parlamentu?
Can you find at least in one of our states 40% of women sitting in the parliament?
A kada progovorimo o tome da iako je sustavni sistemi takvi da je da bi realno trebala moć da bude u parlamentu, svi znamo da ona ipak leži negdje drugdje.
Although our constitutional systems are such that the actual power should rest in the hands of our parliaments, we all know that the actual power is somewhere else.
I onda je realno postaviti pitanje, a koliko je žena tamo gdje je stvarna moć, odnosno koliko je žena u izvršnoj vlasti i koliko je žena na čelu korporacija.
Then that's why we should all ask ourselves a question, how many women are at the places where the actual power is? How many of them are in the executive branches of power, and how many of them are leading corporations?
I to nam pokazuje da trčimo neku sporednu trku, da nismo u matici zbivanja.
That is telling us that we are on the sidelines, so to say, and that we are not in the whirlpool of all the actual activities.
Ali Sonja je rekla, budimo realni, pronađimo novi put.
But like Sonja said, let's be realistic and let's find a new path.
I kad je rekla realni, ja sam se odmah sjetila one 68. i budimo realni, tražimo nemoguće.
And when she said, let's be realistic, I remember the times of 1968 in this region when one of the mottos was, let's be realistic and ask for the impossible.
Ali ja mislim da kad žene traže pola moći koja im pripada, da to nije uopšte nerealno.
But I think that when women actually ask for a half of the power that actually belongs to them, this is not an unrealistic demand.
Jer kada se osvrnemo, onda možemo i moramo konstatovati da su žene iz svih država regiona dosta uradile za svoje države.
But if we look back, we really have to say that the women from all the countries of our region have done a lot for their respective countries.
Da su preuzele ogroman teret u tranziciji društva.
And that they have been carrying a huge burden in the transitional societies.
Neću odgovoriti, ali ću sve vas i sebe pitati šta su države uradile u tom periodu za žene.
I'm not going to answer to the question that I'm asking all of you. What have the countries done for their women in this period?
Ja ću negdje pokušati da govorim o ovom novom putu.
And I will try and speak about this new path.
Teoretičari kažu da održivi razvoj u stvari predstavlja osnov ljudske bezbjednosti.
The theoreticians say that the sustainable development is the basis of human security.
Znači govoriti o održivom razvoju, govorimo o ljudskoj bezbjednosti, ali govorimo i o ravnopravnosti muškaraca i žena.
So when we talk about the sustainable development, we actually talk about the human security, but at the same time we talk about the equality of men and women.
I negdje sam nepopravljiva optimistkinja, pa vjerujem, pošto se svi kunemo u ciljeve održivog razvoja do 2030. godine, da ćemo ih postići i da ćemo te godine reći zaista na Zapadnom Balkanu žene i muškarci su ravnopravni.
Well, I am a big optimist, and since we all believe in the sustainable development goals that should be achieved by 2030, I really think and believe that in the Western Balkans we will also achieve equality between men and women by that time.
Ima mogućnost da budem optimistkinja, ali ne znam da li je to realno.
So I can be an optimist, but I don't know if it's realistic to be one.
Kada pogledamo politička prava žena, ekonomska, kada pogledamo procenat nasilja u porodici i nasilja nad ženama u našim državama, ja govorim iz Crne Gore, ali potpuno sam svjesna da je region u istoj situaciji, onda se može postaviti pitanje koliko zaista žene imaju moći i da li smo trenutno u situaciji da govorimo o paradoksu, da manjina treba da nametne to važno pitanje ravnopravnosti, održivog razvoja, bezbjednosti cjelokupnom društvu.
Of course, when we talk about the political and economic rights of women, and especially when we talk about the percentage of the domestic violence exercised against women, I think that the situation in Montenegro, which I'm well acquainted of, is very similar with the situation in the region in this respect. So I have a question to ask, or there is a question actually, namely how much power rests in the women's hand, and is there a paradox actually that when it comes to achieving the goals of equality, sustainable development and human security, the majority or the minority in the society will actually provide for it?
Jer priča o ravnopravnosti zaista jeste priča održivog razvoja, jer u ženama je 50% kapaciteta za razvoj svakog društva, pa i ovog našeg na Zapadnom Balkanu.
When we talk about the equality, I think that we actually talk about the sustainable development, and the women account for 50% of all persons in the society, and that's why their strength also lies in their hands, in this 50%.
Da li ih mi koristimo?
But do we use these rights, this power?
Da li će život i muškaraca i žena biti znatno kvalitetniji i bolji ako muškarci shvate da nije tako strašno da se odreknu malo moći?
Will the lives of men and women actually improve and be better if men realize that it will not be such a bad news for them to relinquish some of their power?
I zato raduje da mi žene znamo da imamo u jednom broju muškaraca saveznike.
And that's why we are really glad that we women know that we have allies in a certain number of men, or in some men.
I znamo da je pred nama važan zadatak povezivanja svih starosnih dobi, svih nacija, svih, bez obzira na bilo koju posebnost.
We also know that there is a big task ahead of us, which is to interconnect everyone, irrespective of their age, ethnic belonging, or any other specific characteristic.
I opet se vraćam na nešto što je Alenka rekla. Ona je govorila o tome kako je u njenoj porodici u 3 generacije potpuno normalno razumjeti mir, jer oni žive u miru.
Back to something what Alenka has just mentioned about it being very self-understanding that her 3 generations of her family have been living in peace.
Mlade djevojke potpuno žive ljudska prava za koje su se izborile žene koje su živjele prije njih. Prihvataju ih kao normalna i ne primjećuju kako se ona vremenom gube jer se ne čuvaju.
Also young women or girls, let's say, actually exercise those rights and human rights that the women, elder women than them had in the sometime in the past have been fighting for. They take them as normal, and they don't see that they are going to lose them if they are not being maintained.
I opet govorimo o važnom zadatku, a to je osvjetljavati problem, razgovarati o njemu jer smo tako bliže rješenju.
Another very important task of ours is to actually talk about the problem, cast a light on the problem that we have, discuss the problem, because that will bring us closer to the solution.
17 ciljeva održivog razvoja ćemo lako dostići ako na njima budemo radili zajedno.
The 17 goals of the sustainable development will be easily attained if we are gonna work towards them together.
Govorimo o održivom razvoju, a cijelo vrijeme mislim stvari i ljudska bezbjednost.
When I say the sustainable development, I have in mind actually human security.
Završit ću sa pričom koju su nas u djetinjstvu učili, a to je ona priča o štapićima, da svaki kada je posebno možemo da slomimo, ako su u svežnju, ne.
In the end, I would like just to remind you of a story that we were all told in our childhoods about the sticks, the little sticks. When they are separate, they are easily broken. When are put together, nobody can break them.
Ta priča mene uvijek asocira na ženski pokret u regionu.
And this story, always is for me an association of the women's movement in this region.
Ako u svakoj od naših država same vodimo borbe, same ostvarujemo neke pobjede, a ne dijelimo ih sa drugim, ne učimo od drugih, ne savjetujemo druge, lako će nas i u našim državama slomiti.
Namely that if we are alone in these fights within our respective countries, if we are alone in winning these battles only within our countries, and we are not sharing it with the others, we are not teaching the others and giving and receiving pieces of advice from the others, then we will be very easily broken, just like these sticks.
Ali ako učimo kao što učimo jedna od drugih, ako smo podrška jedna drugoj, ako svoje rezultate damo drugima da njima bude alat kada postignu takve rezultate u svojim zemljama, onda mi predstavljamo snop koji ne može niko slomiti.
But if we learn from each other, if we support each other, if we share the results that we achieve with the others, then we will be this actually binding of little sticks that nobody can break down.
Ali tako mi postajemo, opet se vraćam na građevinarstvo, jaka konstrukcija koja će nositi promjene i koja će opravdati jedno razmišljanje s kraja 20. vijeka, a to je da koncept ljudske bezbjednosti uvodi revolucionarne promjene u 21. vijek. Žene su te promjene.
Also that's how we will become very strong. We will have this strong construction that we spoke about at the beginning. Sorry, and we will introduce the change. And there was a motto at the end of the 20th century about the human security and about the human security and the revolution that will be brought about in the 21st century. And I think that the women are this change or this revolution.
Wow.
Thank you, Nada. Without further ado, Vildana.
Kako početi, osim reći da dolazim iz države sa najkomplikovanijim političkim sistemom i onda se sami zapitamo odakle da počnemo u stvari, da razgovaramo, da li od lokalnog, entitetskog, kantonalnog, državnog, ali nekako ja sam kao, ajme reći, mlada aktivistkinja odlučila da počnem od vrha. Imala sam jako veliku ambiciju i moram da priznam da sam bila mnogo ljuta s obzirom da sam vidjela da kao žena sam tu nigdje i da sve najveće odluke koje se donose bez konsultacije sa ženama. I nekako u cijeli taj proces aktivizma, kao što sam već rekla, ušla sam ljuta i evo još i dan danas sam ja ljuta.
Well, how can I start coming from a very complicated political system of Bosnia and Herzegovina? Shall I start from the local level, from the entity level, or from the state level? As a very young activist, I started from the top. I was very ambitious, but at the same time I was very angry because I realized that all the major and most important decisions are adopted without any consultation with women. So I was angry about it and I'm still angry about it.
Ali meni mnogo znači da danas na forumu govorimo o ženama koje kreiraju nove politike Zapadnog Balkana i mislim da je vrlo važno da baš na ovakvom forumu gdje me jutros na prvom tom panelu dočekalo, od panela su bili većinom muškarci i nekako ja, pošto radim mnogo sa ženama, uvijek mi je drago kad mogu da sjedim u prisustvu žena koje zaista rade mnogo, ali ono što nažalost moram da kažem se jako malo cijeni i vrednuje ženski rad.
Well, this all means a lot to me, the fact that at this forum we are discussing actually this topic of new politics, new politics for women in the Balkans. By the way, this morning when I came here, I was met and surrounded mostly by men. At the same time, this particular situation, since I work a lot with women, is a very is something that I'm very glad about because I sit now with a lot of women. But at the same time, I have to say that in spite of what we do and great achievements that women do make, it is not being appreciated enough.
Ja moram da se zahvalim Sonji Licht jer prvi poziv koji sam dobila u Budvu je za mene bio vrlo impresivan. Sam upoznala fenomenalne žene i saznala što one rade, jer vrlo često mi u državama u kojima mi radimo ili nemamo vremena da saznamo kako su naše prijateljice, drugarice, s čim se one nose u regionu, a i sa druge strane mediji u dovoljnoj mjeri ne prenose sve ono zaista šta žene rade i sa čim se one nose.
And also I am very thankful to Sonja Licht also for inviting me to the Budva meeting where I met many women. I learned what they actually do. I heard about their achievements and what they do. And I have to say that given what we all do in our respective countries, sometimes we don't have time to learn about what's done by other women and friends of ours, also due to the fact that the media are not reporting a lot about women's achievements and all the things they are fighting for.
A sad ću se malo osvrnuti na Bosnu i Hercegovinu i reći da žena nije bilo u ustavnim reformama, bile su u svojstvu prevoditeljica, znači ne u svojstvu konsultantica i ne u svojstvu provoditeljica.
Well, I'll say something now about Bosnia and Herzegovina. They did not take part in the constitutional reform of Bosnia and Herzegovina, apart from them being translators or interpreters, but never consultants or decision makers in this regard.
Ali žene su nakon toga donijele zakon o ravnopravnosti spolova u Bosni i Hercegovini 2003. godine.
However, women managed to actually make the law on gender equality be adopted in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2003.
To je bio jedan vrlo težak proces i zajednički rad žena koje su političarke i žena aktivistkinja.
Well, it was a very difficult process, but it was done by women activists and women politicians.
Bosna i Hercegovina je prva država u regionu koja je usvojila akcioni plan rezolucije 1325. Manje od 30% je implementacije te rezolucije.
Also, Bosnia and Herzegovina was the first country in the region that adopted the action plan for resolution 1325. less than 30% of what the resolution stands for has been implemented.
Više od 80% političara ne zna šta je rezolucija 1325 ili ne želi da zna.
Over 80% of male politicians don't know what the resolution 1325 is all about, or they don't want to know anything about it.
Mi još uvijek u Bosni i Hercegovini imamo pojedine kantone u kojem nemamo niti jednu ministricu.
And still in Bosnia and Herzegovina there are cantons without a single woman minister.
I onda se pitamo zašto nas nema u najvažnijim odlukama, zašto nas nema u ekonomskim reformama i zašto nemamo rodno odgovorne budžete.
And then we ask ourselves, or we wonder, why we are not in the positions when the major decisions are taken, why we are not present in major economic reforms, and why we don't have gender-sensitive budgeting yet.
U Bosni i Hercegovini ima jedna vrlo smišljena, jako dobra strategija. Ukoliko želite da pozicionirate žene i ispoštujete zakon o ravnopravnosti spolova, onda je stavite u komisije.
Well, there is a well-developed strategy in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Namely, if you want to achieve gender equality, then and of course implement the law thereof, then put women in the commissions.
I onda nas pitaju nas, žene aktivistkinje, naše fenomenalne prijateljice, političarke, dakle koje zaista se trude da učestvuju, zbog čega se stalno žalimo.
And then women politicians ask, our dear friends, ask us, women activists, why are we constantly complaining about something?
Ono što smo pokazali prije godinu dana jeste da je naša jedna prijateljica u kolicima nije mogla prići govornici u Parlamentarnoj skupštini Bosne i Hercegovine.
We demonstrated something about a year ago, namely one of our representatives, a woman who was in wheelchair, was unable to go to the rostrum of the Bosnian and Herzegovinian parliament.
Jer nema pristup i nije važno da ima.
Because there was no access for such person in the parliament and actually nobody cared about it.
Niti se žena Romkinja može kandidovati za predsjednicu Bosne i Hercegovine.
Also, a Roma woman cannot be a candidate for the president of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Jer spada u grupu ostali.
Because she belongs to the group the others.
Kako da žena Romkinja kaže koji su problemi žena Romkinja ako nije gore?
How can a Roma woman tell anyone about the problems of the Roma women unless she is somewhere on the top of it?
Kako da žena sa invaliditetom, to vrlo lako može biti i muškarac sa invaliditetom, ovdje govorimo o ženama, može da kaže koje su njene potrebe ukoliko ne može da pristupi govornici?
How can a woman with a disability, and it can be a man, but we are now talking about the women, how can such a person say something about the needs of persons with disability if they cannot even reach the rostrum of the parliament?
Kako da kreiramo nove politike ako nemamo priliku da oslušnemo šta se dešava od strane marginalizovanih grupa ili žena?
How can we create new politics if we don't have the possibility to hear what the problems are from the marginalized groups or from women, for that matter?
Reformska agenda Bosne i Hercegovine je pristupni dokument Bosne i Hercegovine ka EU integracijama.
The reform agenda of Bosnia and Herzegovina is an accession document of Bosnia and Herzegovina in its process of accessing the European Union.
Kada smo razgovarale o tom dokumentu, shvatila smo da nema žena u tom dokumentu.
When we discussed this document, we women realized that there are no women in this document actually.
Kada sam i pitala zašto nema žena u dokumentu, ni rodne ravnopravnosti, ni riječi o marginalizovanim grupama, onda su mi rekli, ali to je ekonomski dokument.
When I asked why women or gender equality or marginalized groups are not mentioned in this document in any place, I was told, well, because this is an economic document.
Ali zar ekonomska pitanja ne dotiču i socijalnu pravdu i zdravstvenu zaštitu? Zar to sve ne dotiče podjednako i žene i muškarce?
But doesn't economic issues actually touch upon social justice and healthcare or health prevention, something that belongs both to men and women?
Ali bit ću pozitivna jer zaista moram da kažem da u Bosni i Hercegovini postoje zaista fenomenalne žene koje su i na državnom nivou, fenomenalne političarke koje nas osluškuju, razgovaraju s nama i na neki način iniciraju naše prijedloge u državni parlament.
I have to be positive on the other hand and say that in Bosnia and Herzegovina we have some great women, those who are also at the level of state power, who are politicians, who listen to us, who discuss the problems with us, actually give voice to our problems in the Bosnian parliament.
Ono što je meni lično važno kao feministkinji jeste i pitanje solidarnosti, a to je da budemo solidarne i sa ženama koje su preuzele svoj identitet političarke i aktivistkinja, s obzirom da aktivistkinje su na terenu i ja kao aktivistkinja sam stalno u malim lokalnim zajednicama gdje razgovaram sa ženama koji su njihovi problemi i iniciramo te prijedloge preko žena koje su aktivne u političkom životu. Tako da bez te zajedničke veze bojim se da nećemo ništa napraviti.
Also, something that is very important for me as a feminist is an issue of solidarity. I think that is important that there is this solidarity between women politicians and women activists. I, as an activist, am always on the ground. I discuss things at the small local communities with women, and then we make proposals that are being put forward by our friends, women politicians in the parliament or at some other places, and I think that we need to stay connected this way, because without it we cannot make ourselves be heard.
Ono što je po meni nekako, ajmo reći, izazov u budućnosti jeste da ćemo sigurno morati mnogo da radimo na osnaživanju žena, da i one mogu da sjede za ovim stolom i razgovaraju o važnim pitanjima kao što su ekonomske reforme, kao što su i sigurnost, kao što je zdravstvena socijalna zaštita i sva druga pitanja koje se smatraju kao pitanjima visoke politike.
In my view, this is going to be the challenge for the future. And actually, the challenge is to empower women so that they, in future, can also sit at the fora, such as this one, and discuss economic reforms, security issues, social and health protection, and all the matters and the topics that pertain to high politics.
I samo za kraj, ja uvijek volim da kažem da su žene za mene heroine i da zaista nekada nisu svjesne šta sve one mogu da daju za ovo društvo i naravno da ih društvo vrednuje zbog svega onoga što daju.
And at the very end, I just like to say that for me, women are heroines and they are simply not always aware of all the things they can do for the society. They're simply unaware of it and they are not appreciated for what they do.
You had the chance to hear 5 women from the new initiative, and I promise we invented the title of this forum much before the initiative was born, although you could think while you were listening to them that they are those who will build the common future. In the times of uncertainty, I'm sure that they will be among them. And I invite you now to please be so kind and ask few questions, comments. Unfortunately, all the time, this is at every single forum, we are running out of time because of the situation, you understand. It is just difficult to reconcile everything in a session. I was told that the deputy head of mission of OSCE would like to say a few words. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sonia, for hosting this event, and my special thanks to the panel as well for the very insightful comments, and both on the practical level as well as on the sort of theoretical level to help us think about some of these problems. The idea behind this initiative is very deeply rooted in what the OSCE does, and it's rooted in our documents and in the agreements we have with our participating states, and it's in what we do. which is one of the reasons why the mission here, together with the Office of Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, has supported this initiative. Listening to your perspectives on things today has been fascinating for me, and it really brought to my mind a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with you and get your thoughts on as well. I think when Alenka was speaking, I think the thing that really struck me was the fact that you talked about history as a process. And I think that when we talk about these issues of the development of women's rights, we have to think about it as a process, because we're not aiming for a final state. We're not aiming for a time, as Sanda mentioned, where we stop what we're doing. But this is a process that we're going to always have to continue to think about. And we have to include men in that process. We can't, it's important to provide an opportunity for women to gather, to talk about the issues they face in a forum that allows them to think about it. But we can't solve problems if we don't sit down and think about it from both sides. And which brings me to the point. I'm going to play a little language game with your idea of the house with the three corners, because I think it's important to build a house that has got people holding up all the corners equally, but the house is the end of the solution. What we need to do is build a home. A home is the place we all feel comfortable, where we all feel we belong, and it involves us always keeping that home functioning together. And so for me, I think the most important thing is to recognize that it's not about dividing the power of men in half to share. It's about doubling the creative power and the constructive power of the world, so that we all take part in what's available to us. And with that, I'd like to say that my hope is that someday we don't come here and say, as Vildana was saying in the work that she's done, that people come to her and ask what she thinks of a particular problem as a woman, but that we ask her, what do you think of this issue? And leave it at that. Because it's important to know what you think, not because of who you are or what you do. But thank you very much for your perspectives today.
Thank you very much for your comments. Elizabeth Knockler. Can you bring over the mic? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Sonia, for inviting me here. And it's an honor, great honor to be here, and it's not the first time. I've been here many times, and that in the context of women empowerment, because Finland has committed themselves to working on this issue after the quota was introduced in Serbia. So there has been many initiatives, both on a local and on a national level. And why Finland? We have no quotas. But we have this record that we are very proud of, many records, the first country in the world that really used the right for women to vote and be elected. So we had 19 women in the first parliament in Finland over 100 years ago. And many records like that, the first minister of defense in the world, the first government having more women than men in the government, the first Assistant Secretary General in the UN system, etc., etc. We can continue like that. This is, now it is the 100th anniversary of Finland. And this is one of our main products to export, the gender equality. This does not mean that we don't have shortcomings, many shortcomings, and I think it's equally important to share the shortcomings. And one of the shortcomings, that is the violence against women, that we also have such problems with in Finland. Now I am here, this time, not representing the Finnish Parliament as I have earlier, but I'm here as a representative for the National Council of Women of Finland, and I'm a rapporteur for them, reporting on this because they're very interested in what is happening here in the region. And this, we all know the statistics, how important it is with women in peace agreements and normalization, and that there are different views from women than it is from men. And there are figures saying that there is almost 0% of backlash in peace in a peace solution if you have at least 35% of women in the parliament. And we could continue with this about statistics, which I'm not going to go into. We all know how important it is to the process. And I know also how difficult it is with cross-border cooperation in the Western Balkans. We don't have the problems, but we have a lot of experience in this field in the Nordic cooperation. Now, I would like to end with a question. Because Finland has a special responsibility when it comes to the normalization, or we shouldn't speak about normalization anymore, getting into the normal in this part of the world. So how do you see that your work can be conducive to the dialogue between Serbia and Kosovo? How do you see that women's role can be more conducive than without women? How do you think you can engage in this more? Because we need to be engaged on this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I am looking around. I don't see anybody else asking the floor. Ljiljana, would you like to say something as part of the original initiative?
Ustajem. Vidim da su svi ustali, pa ajde i ja onda da...
Samo ću moliti kratko jer nam je
Ja
vreme
sam
jako.
Ljiljana Raičević, dolazim iz Titograda, volim tako da kažem, volim da se prisjetim nekih vremena u kojima je bilo, da kažem, dostojanstvenije živjeti nego u ovo doba. Iz Podgorice, ukopčali ste. No? Ja sam predsjednica Sigurne ženske kuće, to je sklonište za žene i djecu žrtve nasilja. Imali smo do skoro još jedno, to je sklonište za žrtve trafikinga, žene koje su prodavane, preprodavane, koje su eksploatisane i radno i na svaki način. To je jedna crna slika koja se uvećava, brojka je sve veća i veća. Mi ne znamo odgovor zašto je to tako i zašto je u zraku neka depresivna situacija koja nam ne uliva povjerenje.
Ljiljana, samo pauzu zbog prevoda.
Morat ćete me prekidati. Da.
Well, I would like also to stand up like all other speakers have. I'm Ljiljana Raičević. I come from the town of Titograd. I like to call Podgorica this name because this brings me back to some happier times in the past when we all lived more decent lives. I am also the chairperson or president of the Safe Women House from Podgorica, where we house women and children victims of violence. We used to have also the house for the victims of trafficking, women who were victims of trafficking. And I have to say that in this respect, the situation is very bleak. The number of these victims is on the increase, and we really don't know why it is so. And there is some kind of depressiveness in the atmosphere, in the air, if you want, in this regard.
Da. Naše zemlje, bivša Jugoslavije, naše zemlje Balkana i, kako sad vole da kažu, regije, imaju jako slične procente svega ovoga što sam ja pričala. Prije 21 godinu kad sam ja otvorila prvu žensku nevladinu organizaciju, ja sam mislila da je Crna Gora na kraju svijeta. Onda sam počela malo da putujem, da dovodim ekspertkinje iz Europe i svijeta i onda sam ja čula da je procenat negdje svugdje isti. Priča o svakoj drugoj ili svakoj trećoj ženi koja je prebijena i koja ne učestvuje u donošenju odluka je bila svugdje na nivou svijeta, Europe i Amerike.
Well, I think that the in our countries of former Yugoslavia or the countries of the Balkans, these percentages that I have just mentioned are very similar. And when I first established the first women NGO in Montenegro 21 years ago, I thought that Montenegro was in this respect probably the worst country in the world. But then I traveled a lot, I met other women and brought them to Montenegro to give lectures. These were women experts on these issues, and learned actually that these percentages are more or less the same everywhere in Europe or in the world, with every second or third woman being beaten or not taking part in major decision making. These percentages are very similar both in Europe and the United States.
Negdje gdje smo mi bile odskočile pa dosta dobro u odnosu na svijet ili na zapadnu Europu je bilo ono socijalističko doba kad je bilo 40% žena u parlamentu. Sad mi možemo da pričamo kakav je to kvalitet bio učestvovanja tih žena jer je bio jednopartijski sistem. Ali zar to nije i sad jednopartijski sistem? Ja sad pričam i za Crnu Goru i za Srbiju i mogu da kažem i za Hrvatsku, ne znam tačno za Sloveniju, pretpostavljam da i tamo nije neka sjajna situacija, ali pazite, negdje gdje su se žene dobro istakle, to je bio antifašistički pokret od, na primjer, u toku rata, Drugog svjetskog rata, u toku ovog najnovijeg rata, žene su te koje su povukle dobar dio nevolje i aktivnosti i u toku rata i posle rata i negdje sad ih nema. Nema ih, ne staju. Znate zašto? Novac je u pitanju, muškarci ne daju te silne plate koje se vrte negdje gore pri dnu gore u sistemu.
Well, I think that we were somewhat better off, even compared with Western European countries or the rest of the world, back when we were in the times of socialism. In the socialist time, there were 40% of all MPs sitting in the then parliament. We can, of course, discuss the quality of the participation of women in one-party system, in such a one-party system, but don't we have this one or monoparty system as well today in Montenegro, in Serbia, Croatia? I'm not quite sure about Slovenia, but I know that the situation is not very bright. Also, the same applies to Albania. So, where the women have made the greatest achievement, so to say, it was in the time of the anti-fascist movement, which is the Second World War, but also in the most recent wars in this region, women have been fighting with all the troubles of the war times. They were very active, and also at the times immediately after the war. But in the meantime, they have somehow disappeared from our horizons. And you know why? Because of the money, because the men will not get any close to the positions with high salaries or higher economic power.
Svaka čast. Ja to ne bi zapamtila.
Molim da završavamo jer moramo, nažalost.
Vas da se desi da se na mene završava, a ja hoću sad baš najzanimljivije da kažem. Prema tome, čak i da imamo tih 40% žena u parlamentu, koje su izabrane voljom naroda, odnosno partije koje učestvuju u parlamentu, jel mislite da će se nešto promijeniti? Te žene slušaju svoje partijske vođe. Ja sam dugo bila u Liberalnom savezu, znam da je to jedina partija bila koja je dozvoljavala meni, jer mi nisu ništa mogli, na kraju sam ja morala i da pođem odatle jer se nisam slagala sa nekim stvarima. Žene u politici, pogotovo u vladajućoj stranci, ama ljudi, žene, ne pitaju se ništa. Shvatate, dok ne dođu jedne žene koje su svjesne da samo slobodne žene mogu nešto da promijene. Slobodne u svojim mislima, u svojoj glavi, u svojoj duši, vaspitavajući tako svoju djecu, da kažu sad je dosta fašistima, nacionalistima, homofobima i svima ovima da vam ne nabrajam jer to imate u svojim zemljama. Pitanje za vas, šta možete vi kao političarke da uradite u svojim zemljama, a da se promijeni ovo stanje koje nije dobro, koje je svakim danom sve teže, gdje je diktatura sve jača, gdje se slobodni mediji zatvaraju i gdje žene, pogotovo sad, ne mogu da dođu ne na vlast, nego do riječi. Nemojte da vas zavarava što imaju Srbi premijerku. Sve je to od nekud i negdje od gore projektovano, dovedeno na silu, negdje ucijenjeno i tako dalje. To vam je svugdje u našim zemljama. Kod nas se sad priča o tome da je Crna Gora spremna da ima, još jedna rečenica, da ima ženu predsjednicu Crne Gore. Ok, 2-3 partije minorne, rekla bih, istaće negdje svoju kandidatkinju. Ali ako to nije uradila najveća partija, onda od toga nema ništa. Zato sam ja za tu inicijativu da Crna Gora počne sad, za 4 godine, jer su prvi izbori sad u aprilu pa smo zakasnili, da sad počnemo da pričamo o tome i da radimo da za 4 godine dovedemo ženu koja će biti iz nevladinog sektora, koja će imati povjerenja velikog broja građana Crne Gore, ne partijska žena, nego ona koja će pomiriti i crkvu, i vjeru, i nacionaliste, i Srbe, i Crnogorce, i ostalu bratiju. Hvala.
I'm always at the end of any forum, but I think that I'm coming to the most interesting part of my speech, namely I want to ask one question. Even if there were 40% of women politicians elected in the parliament, will it actually make any difference? Will they bring about any change if they are just representatives of their own parties? Because I don't think it's possible, because women in the party system have to listen to their leaders, the leaders of their party. I used to belong to the Liberal Alliance, one of the parties in Montenegro, and after some time I had to leave them because I disagreed with their politics. So what about the women in the ruling parties? They don't often have anything to say. Their voice is not heard. Any change will come about only at the moment when women who are really free, who are free in their minds, in their souls, such women, such free women can only bring about any change. Those are the women that are bringing up their children in this spirit as well. These are the women that will finally say no or stop to the fascists, nationalists, homophobes that we all have in our countries. So my question was, what do you think you can change as women politicians at the moment? Can you change this situation that we all have in our countries? Especially at these difficult times when the free media are being closed down, where the dictatorships are being installed, so to say. I think that at this moment women's voice cannot be heard, let alone can any woman really exercise any actual power. Even when you say that you have a prime minister who is a woman in Serbia, she has been selected and brought, probably blackmailed to this position, and this is the situation anywhere else in such or similar circumstances. So what can a woman do to actually make a change in our country. We in Montenegro at the moment are discussing about having a woman candidate for the president of Montenegro. I think that that will not be a big success. There are 2 or 3 minor Montenegrin parties who are going to have one candidate, but until the biggest party in Montenegro has a woman candidate, the whole thing will fail. I think that we should, in Montenegro at least, start preparing for the new round in election, which will be in 4 years' time, not the ones that are forthcoming, because we are already too late to be prepared for it, and propose a woman as a candidate, somebody who will come from the NGO sector, somebody who is trusted by the citizens, who is not a party, a member of any party, and who will finally reconcile the church, the people of Montenegro, Montenegrins, Serbs, and everybody else there. Thank you.
First of all, really, thank you very much for this exquisite translation. And I really have to apologize. Unfortunately, the questions, which were comments, very, very important. I don't think we can answer them now. Among other things, these women also deserve to have at least a bite before the next session starts at 4 o'clock on populism, very important for all of us. But I would also like to promise the initiative will definitely address these issues. It is going to be a process, and we will try to answer these and many other questions, very much including what can the politicians do in order, this is why we are making the initiative, to change the approach to politics. No one expects some quick fixes, but I know, for example, Alenka is going to run quite soon. And I'm sure that she will run also on this ticket. Now, and for your question, Elizabeth, Gordana Čomić will be tomorrow in the session on Kosovo and Serbia relation, from normalization to normalcy, and I'm absolutely convinced that she's going to answer at least partially your question, what can women do in that process. Thank you very much, all of you. Sorry for rushing, but that's, and I couldn't rush the members of the panel. I know I was a bad moderator, but I enjoyed them so much, and I thought this is the opportunity that you hear the women who are starting this new initiative. Thank you so much for being so patient.